This behavior is absolutely unacceptable, madam. You need to follow the crew's instructions immediately.
There must be some misunderstanding. I haven't done anything wrong.
I'm sorry, but if you cannot comply with the regulations, we must ask you to leave the aircraft right now.
The flight cabin hummed with recycled air and quiet impatience. Seatbelt lights flickered overhead as passengers shuffled bags into the compartments. Amara Blake lifted her carry-on, sleek, compact, and clearly within regulation size, toward the bin above her seat. A shadow crossed her wrist. "Ma'am." The flight attendant's voice sliced through the white noise, sharp and performative. "That bag's too large. You'll need to check it." Heads turned. Amara froze, her heartbeat a drum in her ears. "It fits," she said quietly, pushing it in halfway. The metal edge glided smoothly, proof enough. But the attendant blocked her with an arm, smiling the way people do when they know they're untouchable. "Let's not make a scene." "All right." The word "scene" cracked open the air. A man 2 rows back chuckled under his breath. A mother pulled her child closer. Amara's throat burned, not from shame, but from fury, held in silence too long. "I said it fits." The attendant leaned close, voice low enough for only Amara to hear. "You people always think rules don't apply to you." Something inside Amara went still. Cameras clicked, phones already raised. A small flash caught the silver edge of her designer luggage tag. "Blake Holdings International." The attendant followed the flash, her expression shifting, confusion first, then dread. "Miss Blake," a voice called from first class. The captain himself was standing in the aisle, eyes locked on the scene. Amara didn't move, didn't blink. Her carry-on rested halfway in the compartment, halfway out, a symbol suspended between compliance and confrontation. "Is there a problem here?" he asked. The attendant swallowed. Too late. Every camera in the cabin was already recording. The line for boarding moved like a slow pulse. Overhead lights hummed with sterile brightness, reflecting off metal rails and anxious faces. Amara Blake adjusted her blazer, the soft navy fabric absorbing the chill of the JetBridge Air. Row 14C. Middle of the plane. No luxury treatment today, just another passenger. She liked it that way. Anonymous, normal. The flight attendant smiled at each passenger passing by. When Amara approached, the smile stiffened. "Good afternoon," Sandra said, voice too bright. Amara nodded. "Afternoon." Her carry-on was slim, a graphite leather bag with gold initials, a B. She hoisted it easily, stepping toward the overhead compartment. Sandra's hand shot up. "Ma'am, that bag's oversized. It'll have to be checked." Amara blinked. "It's standard size. Policy." The attendant gestured to the line behind her, forcing tension into the air. "Please step aside." A man with a large duffel slid past without comment. No one stopped him. "I'm not stepping aside for something that fits." Amara's voice was calm, but a tremor of disbelief ran through her. Sandra's smile didn't waver. "If you're going to raise your voice, I'm not raising my voice." Several passengers turned, phones appeared, the scent of coffee and recycled oxygen thickened. Amara eased the bag into the compartment. It slid in perfectly. She looked at Sandra, quiet victory in her eyes. Sandra leaned close, whispering, "You people always push it." The words hit harder than turbulence. For a moment, the cabin disappeared, all sound replaced by the low roar in Amara's ears. "What did you just say?" Sandra recoiled slightly, feigning innocence. "Excuse me," a man behind Amara murmured. "Just let it go." But Amara couldn't. Not anymore. "I'm not going anywhere," she said, louder this time. Cameras clicked, screens glowed. The captain's voice cut through from the front. "Miss Blake, is everything all right?" Sandra froze. Her eyes darted to the bag, to the cameras, to Amara's calm face. Amara straightened, the hum of the engines building beneath her feet. "Everything's fine," she said, though nothing was. The captain stepped closer. "We'll handle this," he said firmly. Looking at Sandra, passengers whispered, some smirking, some uneasy. Amara took her seat, pulse steady now. The world had watched her, humiliated. It would now watch what came next. Outside, the aircraft door sealed with a hollow thud, like a verdict delivered before trial. The first clip hit social media before the plane even landed. A shaky camera, bad angle, but the words were unmistakable. "You people always push it." Within 2 hours, the video racked up 50,000 views. By the time Amara's car pulled into the arrivals lane, it was over 2 million. She didn't check her phone. She didn't have to. The air itself told her the strange looks, the sudden hush of strangers recognizing her face, the way the driver's greeting faltered when she said her name. Inside the terminal, a TV over the baggage carousel played the clip again, muted, but her image looped endlessly, the poised black woman holding a half-inserted suitcase, framed by disbelief. The Kyron Reed, tense moment on flight attendant confronts passenger. Her assistant met her at the car. It's everywhere, Maya said, voice trembling. They already found out who you are. Amara exhaled slowly. Of course they did. She climbed into the back seat, city lights flaring past the tinted glass. Maya turned her tablet toward, her headlines scrolled in a blur. Airline under fire. After viral racism clip, passenger identified as heiress to Blake Holdings' fortune. Was it racism or overreaction? Amara shut the screen with a swipe. Turn it off. But off, Maya. Silence filled the car, broken only by the low hum of the city. Amara stared out the window. Billboards, cranes, 1,000 bright distractions. None of it mattered. Across town, in a small apartment filled with half-unpacked boxes, Sandra Parker sat rigid on her couch. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Texts from coworkers, her mother, her union rep. Don't talk to media. We're handling it. It doesn't look good, Sandra. She replayed the clip again and again. The way Amara's face didn't flinch. The camera catching Sandra's words just before the roar of the cabin drowned them out. Her stomach turned. She threw the phone aside. It's out of context, she muttered. She provoked it. But she couldn't shake the captain's tone, the disbelief in his voice, or the way every passenger had stared, recording, judging. By morning, the clip was national news. Morning talk shows debated tone, intent, race, and privilege. Pundits dissected every second. Was it overt racism? One anchor asked, or an unfortunate misunderstanding magnified by social media? A guest, a civil rights attorney, leaned forward. When a black woman calmly follows the rules and still gets singled out, that's not misunderstanding, that's pattern. Amara watched the segment in her penthouse office, the skyline stretching behind her. Her father, Charles Blake, entered mid-broadcast. He looked tired, silver hair, perfect suit, eyes that had seen too many headlines. You've caused quite a storm, he said quietly. She caused it. She's small, Amara. The system's not. Amara turned toward him, expression flat. Then, maybe the system should feel small for once. He studied her, the same steadiness he once admired now unsettling him. This isn't your... It's been my fight since I was 10, and security followed us through Harasses. He said nothing. The newscaster's voice filled the silence. The airline has issued a statement, apologizing for any distress caused but denying discriminatory intent. Amara scoffed. Apologizing for feelings, not actions. Classic, her father sighed. Public statements aren't where battles are won. Let the lawyers manage it. No, she said, not this time. By afternoon, the airline's PR office was chaos. Screens glowed with real-time analytics. Executives whispered in huddles. Damage containment, someone said. Suspend her immediately. Union won't like it, another replied. Neither will shareholders if we lose 20% in market value. A young communications officer muttered. Miss Blake's name alone carries half our investor network. The room went silent. Back at her apartment, Amara's phone buzzed with media requests. CNN, BBC, podcasts, influencers begging for her statement. Maya read one aloud. They want to feature you as a voice of calm in racial turbulence. Amara laughed bitterly. Translation: they want a polite black woman to make them feel better. She walked to the window, the city dimming into evening haze. Her reflection stared back, tired, proud, defiant. Send a statement, she said finally. What should it say? Amara's voice was quiet, deliberate. Just one line. Bias in the skies isn't turbulence, it's policy. Maya hesitated. That's going to explode. I know. By nightfall, the hashtag bias in the skies trended globally. Celebrities reposted it. Activists praised it. The airline stock fell 6% overnight. Sandra's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Her face was now public. Her name known. A stranger had leaked her employee photo. Death threats, racist supporters, both flooding her inbox. She stared at her reflection in the dark screen, the first cracks of panic showing. Meanwhile, Amara sat alone at her kitchen counter. News anchor voices echoing faintly from the TV. Her phone buzzed again, her father's message. We need to talk. Tomorrow morning. No press. No public statements. Amara typed back one word. Too late. She closed her phone. the blue glow washing across her face. The clip kept looping on television, her face frozen mid, forever suspended between restraint and rebellion. And somewhere inside that silence, the war had already begun. At 8 a.m., the headquarters of Aerosky Airlines smelled of panic, burnt coffee, fresh toner, and fear. The conference room lights glared down on 10 executives arranged like chess pieces, each waiting for someone else to make the first move. On the wall, the viral video played on loop without sound. Sandra's face, Amara's eyes, the silence afterward. Mute it, the CEO snapped. I can't listen to it again. A junior public relations director clicked pause. The screen froze mid-gesture. Sandra's mouth opened. Amara frozen in stillness. The entire power dynamic caught in one unflattering frame. Status, the CEO demanded. Public outrage escalating. Hashtags global. Sponsors want statements. One partner already suspended our ad deal. Legal counsel leaned forward. We can't admit wrongdoing. Miscommunication is our safest line. The HR director cleared her throat. Sandra's union's protecting her. They're spinning this as an employee undertack narrative. If we suspend her, they'll claim bias. Then make it a procedural review, the CEO said. Quiet, internal, non-disciplinary. Phrase it right, and nobody notices. A silence followed, the sound of moral compromise settling into place. Across the city, Amara sat opposite her father in the private boardroom of Blake Holdings. Morning light cut through the glass, painting the table in sharp contrast. Charles Blake spoke first. They're already coordinating lawyers. You'll be buried in NDAs if you keep pushing this. Amara folded her hands. They expect me to stay quiet. They expect you to act like a Blake, he corrected. Strategic, not emotional. I'm not emotional, she said. I'm strategic enough to know silence is strategy for them, not for me. He regarded her for a long moment. You're making this personal. It was personal. They made it that way. Charles exhaled through his nose, his voice lowering. You think the boardrooms you'll inherit aren't filled with Sandras in better suits. You fight every battle. You lose the war. Amara rose. Then maybe the war needs losing. The line hung between them, the first open defiance of her adult life. Back at Aerosky, Sandra sat in a dim HR office, her lawyer beside her. The investigator.com and clinical, spoke without eye contact. Pending review. You'll remain on administrative leave with pay. Sandra stiffened. Leave, you're caving to internet pressure. The lawyer placed a hand on her arm. We'll challenge it if it becomes disciplinary. Sandra glared. She's weaponizing her race and her money. I was doing my job. The investigator's eyes finally lifted. Your job doesn't include telling passengers. You people always push it. Sandra's lips thinned. I didn't mean it like that. Intent doesn't outweigh impact, he said flatly, closing the folder. We'll contact you after internal review. As she left the office, the hallway lights seemed too bright. Every coworker looked away. Even those who'd once laughed with her in the break room now studied their screens, pretending she didn't exist. News cycles spun faster. Anchors dissected statements, reading corporate jargon like scripture. Aerosky Airlines regrets any distress caused by the recent incident. Amara watched the apology from her phone, expression unreadable. She knew the phrasing, legal padding, PR anesthesia. The word racism appeared nowhere. Maya sat beside her, scrolling comments. They're saying you overreacted. Privilege rage, they call it. Amara leaned back. Racism's fine until the target can afford a lawyer. Maya hesitated. Are we suing? Not yet. Then what are we doing? Amara's gaze hardened, making them show their hand. At corporate headquarters, the PR head crafted the next phase, containment. We issue a partnership statement, she said. Highlight our diversity initiatives, post photos of minority staff. Give it a week. Attention shifts. A young intern spoke timidly, but the community's calling for transparency. The CEO cut in. We don't negotiate with hashtags. Meanwhile, online analysis deepened. Activists unearthed past complaints against Aerosky quiet settlements. Ignored grievances. Racial bias reports buried under corporate language. Each revelation sparked new outrage. Each denial added fuel. By evening, a leaked email surfaced, internal memos discussing passenger optics and disruptive profile categories. The narrative was no longer about one attendant. It was systemic. Charles called again, his tone restrained fury. They're coming for the company too. Do you understand what that means? Amara stood by her balcony, city lights flickering below. Maybe it's overdue. Your reputation, our investors' dad, she interrupted. You taught me markets reward truth eventually. Let's see if that's still true. He fell silent. That night, Aerosky's stock dropped another 5%. News anchors speculated board restructuring. In a dark apartment across town, Sandra scrolled the comments under her leaked employee photo. Some called her brave, others a racist monster. She whispered to herself, they'll forget in a week. They always forget. But deep down, she knew this story wasn't dying, not this time, because the woman she humiliated wasn't fading quietly into the noise, and the system that protected her was beginning to crack. The studio lights were merciless, bright, white, sterile. They bleached everything into artificial calm. Amara Blake sat beneath them, spine straight, makeup flawless, the picture of composed power. Across from her sat Graham Lott, the kind of journalist who smiled while loading the gun. His show, Morning Forum Live, drew millions. He'd framed the interview as a dialogue about perception and privilege. Ready? The producer said. Amara nodded once. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3. Graham's smile locked in place. Good morning, Miss Blake. Thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting me. Let's get right to it. He leaned forward. You've become the face of a viral controversy, but critics say you've turned a misunderstanding into a personal crusade. What do you say to that? Amara met his gaze. Calm, controlled. I'd say misunderstanding is what people call it when they don't have to live it. He chuckled softly, as if indulging her. But surely the flight attendant didn't mean to offend. Emotions were high. Could it be overinterpreted? She tilted her head. When someone says you people, they're not talking about luggage. Mr. Lott, the audience shifted. A murmur, barely masked by the sound engineer's forced laugh track. Graham pressed on. But you're a powerful woman, wealthy, educated. Don't you think this outrage distracts from more serious cases of racism? Amara's voice didn't rise. Power doesn't buy exemption from prejudice. It just buys witnesses. A flicker of unease crossed his face. In the control room, producers whispered. One leaned over to another. She's too good. He's losing ground. Let her hang herself with confidence. The senior producer muttered. They always overtalk. But Amara wasn't overtalking. She was cutting in precise strokes. Graham forced a genial smile. Your critics online called this performative, an heiress playing activist. They say you're exploiting outrage. Amara folded her hands. I didn't post the video. I didn't want attention. But when the world sees your humiliation and still debates if it's real, you learn something about truth in this country. He hesitated. What truth? That people will excuse anything if it means keeping their comfort intact. The audience fell silent. The segment cut to commercial. Graham exhaled sharply, turning to her with the brittle charm of a man losing control. Off record, he said, voice lower. You know how this plays, right? You'll trend for a week, then it dies. My advice, don't milk it. Amara didn't blink. You just did. The producer counted down again. Back on air. Welcome back, Graham said with forced brightness. We're speaking with Amara Blake, whose in-flight confrontation has sparked nationwide debate. Miss Blake, what do you hope comes from all this? Amara looked directly into the camera. Transparency, policy change, accountability, not performative apologies. Those are big words. Graham replied lightly. Can one incident change an entire industry? One incident exposed it, she said. Change is their decision. He smirked. Some would say you're intimidating companies into submission. She leaned slightly forward. If accountability feels like intimidation, maybe they're guilty. Graham opened his mouth, but the audience erupted. Half applause, half tension. The director's voice crackled in his earpiece. Move on, she's killing you. Across the country, viewers sat riveted in break rooms, classrooms, airports. Some nodded in silent recognition. Others scrolled angrily, searching for a reason to dismiss her. Clips hit social media before the broadcast even ended. She didn't raise her voice once, and still dismantled him. This is how you handle a trap. Later, in the green room, Maya met her with wide eyes. You broke the internet again. Amara pulled off her mic. They'll spin it anyway. Maya showed her a trending post. Calm is the new revolution. Amara smirked faintly. Until calm stops being convenient. Her phone vibrated, a message from an unknown number. You should have stayed quiet. You'll regret this. She stared at it for a long second, then deleted it. Across town, Sandra watched the interview from her couch, eyes red. Graham's soft bias comforted her. Amara's confidence enraged her. She's acting like a victim, Sandra hissed. She has everything, her friend on speaker replied. Just don't read the comments. But she did. She read every one. She's racist trash. Fire her. Protect her. She's being witched. Sandra scrolled faster, her pulse hammering. Every word felt like heat under her skin. That night, major outlets replayed the interview. Experts dissected tone, posture, intent. Every blink became analysis. A political pundit said, Blake handled herself flawlessly. Calm dismantles bias better than outrage. Another sneered, privilege wearing a halo. She's no Rosa Parks. Amara didn't respond. She sat on her balcony, wind cutting through her silk robe, city stretching endless below. Maya brought tea, placed it beside her. You could sue now, Maya said quietly. You'd win. Amara shook her head. This isn't about money. It's about pattern. Maya frowned. Pattern. Every woman like Sandra thinks she's the exception, until exposure shows she's the rule. The city lights glimmered in her eyes, hard, reflective, unyielding. Far below, screens still replayed her face, her silence, her composure, dissected, adored, hated. And somewhere, deep inside the machine that built those narratives, powerful men were already rewriting the next version of events. The blinds in Sandra Parker's apartment stayed shut. She hadn't stepped outside in 4 days. The walls felt closer each morning, the pale paint now the color of shame. Her phone buzzed endlessly, vibrating across the counter like a restless insect. She'd stopped answering calls. Only the lawyer's voice messages got through. We're negotiating. Don't speak publicly. Don't post. Don't admit fault. She replayed that message like a prayer, though the words no longer soothed her. On the TV, Amara's calm face filled the screen again, this time in a clip titled, Grace Under Fire, the woman who stood still. Sandra muted it. Grace, she muttered. She's not Grace. She's rehearsed. The neighbor's baby cried through the wall. Somewhere below, a delivery truck backfired, a burst of sound that made her flinch. She scrolled social media compulsively. Hashtag bias in the skies. Hashtag justice for Amara. And beneath them, hashtag stand with Sandra, her supposed defenders. An uneasy mix of airline employees, right-wing commentators, and strangers using her for clicks. She's the real victim. This is reverse discrimination. White women aren't safe in their own workplaces. She read them all, feeling a surge of vindication that curdled into disgust within seconds. Her lawyer arrived at noon. Sharp suit, neutral face. He placed a folder on the coffee table. There's a settlement opportunity. Sandra's eyes widened. They're paying me. No, he said. You're paying them. It's a non-disclosure and joint statement deal. You accept partial responsibility. They agree to end the matter quietly. It protects your record. She scoffed. So I grovel for my job. You're radioactive right now. Without this, you'll never work in aviation again. She paced the room. I said one thing. One damn thing. And now I'm the villain of America. He didn't reply. Lawyers didn't comfort. They contained. Miss Blake won't drop this, he added. She's refusing private talks. She wants a public hearing. Sandra froze. Public? He nodded. They'll subpoena internal memos, witness statements, your prior records, anything relevant. She sank onto the couch. So she wants to destroy me. He gathered his files. She wants the truth public. Whether that destroys you depends on the truth. That night, Sandra poured cheap wine into a mug, watching an old video of herself on her phone, smiling, joking, flight uniform crisp. She looked normal then. Harmless. Her inbox pinged, an invitation from a podcast titled Free Voices, The Silenced Workers. The host's message read, we want to give your side. They're silencing you. Tell your truth. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Tell your truth. 2 hours later, she sat in front of her laptop, ring light glaring, connection unstable. The host's voice came through. Sandra Parker joins us tonight, the woman at the center of a media witch hunt. Sandra forced a smile. Thank you. It's been hard. He leaned in. They're calling you racist. How does that feel? She swallowed. Unfair. I've served everyone equally for 10 years. I just followed policy. And yet, he prodded, a billionaire's daughter ruins your life with one video. Doesn't sound fair, does it? Her throat tightened. No, it doesn't. They talked for 30 minutes about cancel culture, reverse bias, corporate scapegoating. By the end, she felt lighter, even defiant. When it aired, her defenders multiplied overnight. The headlines, fired flight attendant speaks out. I was set up. But beneath those darker threads grew hate forums using her name, racial slurs, conspiracy videos. Her story was no longer hers. It had become a weapon she couldn't control. Across town, Amara read the article in silence. Maya looked furious. She's playing victim. They're calling you a bully now. Amara closed the laptop. Let them. You're not going to respond. Amara shook her head. You don't argue with the storm. You wait for lightning. At 3 a.m., Sandra couldn't sleep. Her inbox filled with anonymous threats, half from Amara's supporters, half from extremists claiming to protect her. Both sides terrified her equally. The mug of wine tipped, spilling across her uniform jacket still draped on a chair. The stain spread like rot. She pressed her palms against her eyes, whispering, I didn't mean it. But meaning no longer mattered. Only evidence did. And someone, somewhere, had just decided to find it. The courthouse wasn't a courthouse. It was a hotel ballroom dressed up for performance. Cameras, cables, microphones, placards. The public hearing had been granted after Amara's legal team petitioned under workplace equity transparency law. Outside, the crowd split down invisible lines, protest signs, slogans, and live streams, cutting the morning air into noise. One side, justice for Amara. The other, Sandra deserves due process. Inside, Amara sat poised, hands folded, white blazer crisp against dark skin. Calm wasn't an act now. It was armor. Sandra entered moments later, escorted by counsel, face pale under the glare of lights. When their eyes met, a tremor of recognition. Not hostility, not apology, just the shared fatigue of two people devoured by something larger than both. The moderator, a legal arbitrator chosen for neutrality, called it to order. We are here to review the disciplinary case involving Amara Blake and Sandra Parker. Proceedings will be streamed live, per mutual agreement. A murmur passed through the room. Live meant exposure, every word immortalized. Amara's lawyer began. Miss Blake was humiliated, threatened, and removed from her seat based on nothing but prejudice. Sandra's attorney countered. My client followed policy. She acted under stress, not malice. They played the video. The cabin lights dimmed. On the projection screen. Sandra's voice rang out again. People like you always want special treatment. A collective inhale. Even those who'd seen it 100 times felt the weight in silence. Sandra stared at the floor. Amara didn't move. Then came the second clip recorded by another passenger, unreleased until now. It showed what happened minutes earlier. A white man seated in Amara's assigned spot, refusing to move. Sandra telling Amara, not the man, to calm down. The crowd's reaction was instant, electric. Hashtags began updating in real time. Sandra's lawyer stiffened. That video is incomplete context. Amara's lawyer cut in. The missing context is the problem. Outside, every news outlet streamed it live. Commentators debated tone, intent, fairness. Clips were edited, mid-hearing, shared across millions of feeds. One anchor said, this isn't about one flight attendant. It's about a system that always defaults to suspicion. Another countered, it's a public shaming ritual. Modern-day stocks for anyone who says the wrong thing. The world was no longer divided by truth. It was divided by which version of truth you wanted to believe. Sandra was called to testify. She spoke with trembling hands. It was chaos. Everyone was shouting. I wasn't thinking about race. I just wanted order. Yet your statement, the arbitrator said, specifically referenced people like you. Who were you referring to? Sandra's throat closed. I don't know. It just came out. From where? Silence. Cameras zoomed in. From fear, she whispered finally. Not of her, of losing control, of being recorded, of being wrong. Her honesty disarmed the room. Even Amara blinked, caught off guard by the rawness. The arbitrator nodded slowly. Fear doesn't erase harm, but it does explain origin. Amara took the stand next. I don't want Sandra destroyed, she said. I want acknowledgement. I want the company that hired her, trained her, promoted her, to admit what it rewards. It's not about her words, it's about their silence. The room stilled. Cameras captured her face, steady, unsmiling. Forgiveness isn't free, she continued. It costs truth first. The arbitrator concluded. Verdict: Sandra Parker, terminated with cause. Airline found complicit in systemic bias. Settlement ordered in Amara Blake's favor. The crowd outside erupted cheers. Curses, chants overlapping into chaos. Sandra didn't stay to hear the applause or outrage. She walked out a side exit. Reporters shouting after her. None of it mattered anymore. On the courthouse steps, Amara stood under a gray sky. Maya touched her shoulder. You did it. Amara shook her head. No, we just exposed what was already there. Later that night, both women sat in separate rooms. Screens glowing dots. Sandra watched her name trend again. Headlines dissecting her fall. Amara watched hers turn into an emblem. Activists quoting her words. Brands sending collaboration offers. Neither felt victorious, only emptied. Amara whispered, "This isn't justice. It's theater." Sandra whispered, "I told the truth, and I'm still the villain." Different sides of the same mirror. The world moved on by morning. It always does. The next morning, Amara's face filled every feed. Clips of her courtroom testimony were spliced with stirring music. Hashtags blooming like weeds. Hashtag grace in the sky. Hashtag justice for Amara. Hashtag systemic turbulence. She sat alone in her penthouse office at Blake Global, phone buzzing endlessly. The city outside was all glass and noise. Emails poured in. Brand offers, talk shows, foundation proposals. Everyone wanted a piece of the redemption arc. But Amara didn't feel redeemed. Just dissected. Her reflection on the black glass window, stared back, immaculate, controlled, unbent. The woman the internet had built was not her. Maya entered quietly. CNN's waiting. They want a live segment in 10. Amara didn't look away from the skyline. Let them wait. Maya hesitated. They're saying this moment could define corporate reform. You could push for federal oversight. Amara turned, and become a headline forever. A mascot for trauma. Maya's lips parted, then closed. Across town, Sandra scrolled through comments on her phone. Each one another wound. Racist trash. Hope she never flies again. Fire her. Jail her. Cancel her. Her apartment was stripped of sound except for the soft hum of her refrigerator. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. The airline had issued its public apology, a clean PR manicured statement that mentioned employee misconduct but never her name. She was erased and infamous at the same time. Her lawyer stopped returning calls. Her neighbors looked away in the hallway. The media had moved on to newer outrage, but the internet never forgets. She opened a draft email, typed, "To whom it may concern, I was wrong," then deleted it. She didn't know who whom was anymore. At Blake Global, Amara's board gathered around a long, polished table. Public sentiments still climbing. A PR executive said, "If we pivot fast, we can launch a social equity initiative under your name, the Blake Foundation for Fair Skies." Amara stared through him. "You want to monetize this?" He smiled nervously. "We want to sustain the momentum." Momentum, she repeated. "That's what they call attention when they don't want to say exploitation." Silence fell. Someone coughed. Someone else checked their watch. Amara rose, chair sliding back. "Shut it down. All of it. No fund. No campaign," the executive stammered. "But Miss Blake, this is history. It's hysteria," she cut in. "And I'm not selling it." Hours later, she found herself walking the airport corridor again. Same terminal, same polished floors, same overhead announcements. Gate 47, the scene of her humiliation. A new attendant stood behind the counter. Young, nervous, polite. "Good evening, Miss Blake. Can I help you?" Amara smiled faintly. "No, just passing through." She looked at the gate, the seats, the light streaming across the glass. Everything unchanged, yet none of it the same. She whispered, "You can't fix what doesn't know it's broken." Meanwhile, Sandra applied for a job at a local diner. The manager scanned her resume, then frowned. "You worked in aviation." She nodded. "I used to." He tapped the screen. "You're not the one from the I Am," she said flatly. A pause. Then, "We'll call you." She knew they wouldn't. Outside, she sat on the curb, face lit by the dull orange glow of a street. Somewhere across the city, Amara's image beamed across lead billboards. Sandra whispered to no one, "Maybe this is what it feels like when the sky closes." That night, Amara posted a statement to her followers. Justice isn't revenge, it's repair. But repair can't happen in a system built to deny its own damage. Millions liked it. Thousands shared it. None of them knew that after posting, she turned off her phone and sat in the dark for hours. The silence finally louder than applause. In a small cafe near the courthouse, 2 journalists discussed the case over coffee. "You think she changed anything?" one asked. The other shrugged. "Maybe, or maybe she just proved the machine works better when it eats its own." They both laughed softly. Then, the first one said, "Still, it made people feel something. That counts for something, right? Feeling isn't the same as change." The second replied. "In the final frame, Amara boarding another flight. Months later, no cameras this time, no entourage, just her, a window seat, and the sky outside turning crimson in sunset. The attendant smiled. "Welcome aboard, Miss Blake." Amara looked up calm, unreadable. "Thank you." She fastened her seatbelt, eyes on the horizon. The engines roared above the clouds. The world looked equal. Below them, it never was. Winter came quietly that year. The world had already moved on. News cycles fed on fresher outrage, fresher faces. The story of a flight attendant and a black heiress was now archived, folded between ads and think pieces that aged overnight. But some wounds don't trend, they echo. Amara returned to Blake Global Headquarters after 3 months abroad. Europe, Africa, nowhere in particular. Silence had become her detox. The city skyline welcomed her like it always did, indifferent and bright. Maya met her in the elevator lobby. "You look different, less visible," Amara said. "I like it that way." They rode up in silence. On the top floor, a new mural stretched across the wall. Her courtroom photo, stylized, haloed in corporate colors. Empowerment through accountability. Amara stopped walking. "Who approved this?" "The board," Maya said. "Symbolic. It's branding," Amara said. "Take it down." Her voice carried through the hallway like a verdict. Later, she stood by her office window again. The city below glimmered, full of people living stories that never make the news. She thought of Sandra, wondered if she'd found work, wondered if she hated her, wondered if either of them mattered to the algorithm anymore. Her assistant entered quietly. "There's a visitor for you. She doesn't have an appointment. She says her name is Sandra Parker." Amara froze. "Send her in." Sandra looked smaller than memory, older, shoulders curved inward, eyes red but steady, no makeup, no armor. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence stretched, fragile as glass. Finally, Amara said, "You shouldn't be here." Sandra nodded. "I know, then why come?" Sandra swallowed. "Because apology through a screen isn't real." Amara didn't answer. Sandra continued, voice trembling. "I lost everything. My job, my friends, my name. I don't blame you. I blame me. But the internet turned me into something I wasn't trying to be. I wanted to see you, to say I understand now what fear does, what silence costs." Amara's hands tightened at her sides. "Do you?" Sandra nodded. "Enough to wish I'd spoken up for someone else before it was you." The air in the room thickened. The city noise faded behind the glass. Amara walked to the desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a sealed envelope. "This was mailed to the company last month. From you." Sandra looked down. "I couldn't find the words to say it in person. You found them now." Sandra took a step forward. "I don't expect forgiveness." Amara's eyes softened. "Not kind, just human. Good, because it's not mine to give. It's the system that built both of us wrong." Sandra exhaled, eyes wet. "Then what happens now?" Amara looked out the window again. "We both live with it." Sandra nodded once, then turned to leave. At the door, Amara's voice stopped her. "Sandra," she looked back. "Do better where no one's watching." Sandra's lips quivered, the closest she'd come to a smile in months. "You too." She left quietly. That night, Amara walked alone through the city. Snow fell in small, soundless flurries. She passed a newsstand where a magazine cover still bore her face. Headline faded. "The Heiress Who Humbled the Skies." She bought it, tore it in half, and dropped it in a trash bin. Across the street, a man argued with a store clerk, voice raised, hands clenched. The clerk, a black woman, stood her ground. Nobody intervened. Nobody filmed. Amara watched the tension dissolve when the man finally left, muttering. The woman behind the counter exhaled, straightened her shoulders, and smiled at the next customer as if nothing happened. That, Amara thought, was the real story. The daily quiet reckoning that never trends, never monetizes, never wins. Amara's hands tightened at her sides. "Do you?" Sandra nodded. "Enough to wish I'd spoken up for someone else before it was you." The air in the room thickened. The city noise faded behind the glass. Amara walked to the desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a sealed envelope. "This was mailed to the company last month. From you." Sandra looked down. "I couldn't find the words to say it in person. You found them now." Sandra took a step forward. "I don't expect forgiveness." Amara's eyes softened. "Not kind, just human. Good, because it's not mine to give. It's the system that built both of us wrong." Sandra exhaled, eyes wet. "Then what happens now?" Amara looked out the window again. "We both live with it." Sandra nodded once, then turned to leave. At the door, Amara's voice stopped her. Sandra, she looked back. Do better where no one's watching. Sandra's lips quivered, the closest she'd come to a smile in months. You, too, she left quietly. That night, Amara walked alone through the city. Snow fell in small, soundless flurries. She passed a newsstand where a magazine cover still bore her face. Headline faded, "The Heiress Who Humbled the Skies." She bought it, tore it in half, and dropped it in a trash bin. Across the street, a man argued with a store clerk, voice raised, hands clenched. The clerk, a black woman, stood her ground. Nobody intervened. Nobody filmed. Amara watched the tension dissolve when the man finally left, muttering. The woman behind the counter exhaled, straightened her shoulders, and smiled at the next customer, as if nothing happened. That, Amara thought, was the real story, the daily quiet reckoning that never trends, never monetizes, never wins.